What's up, everybody? I am feeling much better. I had the flu for a week. Today is like the first day that I felt good. I'm a little tired still, but still a little congested and got that cough, but feeling much better. I've had a lot of, I've done a couple videos and people see my Plecostomus in these tanks, and I get mixed reactions. Some say, hey, that's a way too big of a Pleco for that size tank. And then I did the one where I rescued those three Plecos from an outdoor pond, and they were in super cold water. So I just kind of want to really address proper care for your Plecostomus. So we're gonna go through and check things out. See what you guys think of the setup. I don't know. Leave it in the comments. Tell me what you think. Um, let's turn this thing around and go check it out. Here we go. So most of my time in the fish room is actually sitting staring at this tank. This is a 240-gallon tank. Yeah, I just stare at my toes. I don't even care. So 240-gallon tank, and then we have a 70-gallon sump. That's actually a stock tank, and it's covered with a pond liner. I've gone through this tank before, how I set it up, all that good stuff. So the dimensions are 8 feet, so 8 feet from there to there. It's 16 inches tall, and then 3 feet wide. There's one of the Plecos right there. Look at him. That Pleco there is about 18 inches. The one there on the right, he's about 20 inches. And there's another really large one. He's laying all the way in the back over there, if you can see him. That's the biggest one in there. He's about 21, 22 inches. And then we have, my understanding was a chocolate Pleco, and that's that guy there. So when we're talking about proper care for a Plecostomus, number one, know which Plecostomus you're getting. Common Pleco, they're sold as common Plecos, or Sailfins as sometimes they're known. They get huge. This is a big fish, almost a monster fish. And this is not a fish that you're going to want to release in the wild. In fact, right now in Florida, they're having a huge problem with these, actually eating all the algae that the manatees feed on. And you don't want to endanger our natural environment here in the U.S., so be responsible when you're caring for your fish. Find a rescue, find a buddy with a bigger tank. I take these in all the time, and I rehome them, with people with 400 or 500-gallon tanks. So I have no problem keeping them until I can rehome them. So always be on the lookout, kind of, figure out who can actually care for these guys. Let's talk about food for a minute. Well, let's talk about different sizes actually first. Now, I showed you the big three. This is actually a smaller one here. This guy here is probably about 14 inches maybe. He's one of the smaller ones in here. And you can see how big he is. They sit here and they gnaw on wood. That's where they get some of their nutrition. It's where they dirty the tank up really bad. So when you see all these wood pieces in there, your Plecostomus is the one that's doing that. And it's not actually detritus. And I can show you in another tank here. These are bowfins in here. You can see the choya there. That's not actually waste at all. That is actually pieces of the choya that have come off, and it's all over this tank. So pieces of what are normal, these bowfin weren't always in here, but they are now. So let's talk about food for these guys. Your Plecostomus, typically, when they're small, a couple inches. I have smaller ones. When they're smaller like that guy right there, about that size is when they start actually, they stop eating algae usually. Well, I mean, they don't stop, but they'll eat it, but it's just not enough to feed them. So at about 8 inches or so you actually have to feed these guys more food because there's just not enough algae in the tank for them to feed on. So what you really want to do is, when you're feeding your fish, everybody says don't overfeed. The problem is when you have, you know, this guy here who's about 14 inches, and then you have that guy there who's just a monster. You have to overfeed your tank because they're eating the food too. When you feed your tank, you're actually going to see them go onto that and start eating those leftovers. So you want to make sure that you're feeding these guys. Some of them will eat cucumber, squash, zucchini. There's different, different veggies and stuff that these guys like, that they enjoy. So make sure that you're giving them a mixed bag of food. They are a type of catfish, so they do need some proteins. They're going to get that from the fish food that you're feeding in excess. So just be wary that you do have a monster fish there, and you do want to make sure that you're feeding, enough for them. Centerdonis. What's up, buddy? He's so fat. Look at that belly. My thumb. He's just huge. Massive fish. I wish it did him justice. He's bigger than my hand. I have big hands. That's not saying anything, guys. Relax. So anyway, make sure that you're giving them plenty of nutrition. Plenty of space is key as well. That's why I have a huge footprint on this tank. Now, it's not very tall, but I don't need a tall tank. I need a lot of footprint for these guys to be able to move around. You can see, like, that guy way back there is 3 feet away from this guy here. So I have space for them to move around. If you're wanting to breed these guys, you'll need Pleco caves that are huge. These guys do not eat other fish unless they're dead, just so you know. I had somebody come in here the other day and say, my Pleco ate my something, I forget what it was. These guys don't eat other fish unless the other fish is dead. So just keep that in mind. And we didn't highlight you, did we, pretty? This guy's one of my favorites in the tank, just absolutely beautiful. And I never got a real idea on him. My understanding, I think, is that he's a chocolate Pleco, or an albino chocolate Pleco or something, but I have no idea. He's just such a beautiful little guy. Love him. These guys get into everything, so make sure that you got wires. All that stuff is zipped up, so that way you're not shocking them, because they're going to climb on everything. Electronic, they feed on everything in your tank. They don't care what it is. You can see this one here is just kind of grazing, testing out different things. And then he'll hit a spot, find a bunch of nutrition there, and he'll eat it. That's what he's going to do. These guys are just huge. That's my big boy right there, though. Got his fin caught on a piece of wood. I think it was that piece right there, because he just kind of darted off one day and put a hole in himself. This one has a hole in his tail. I probably need to get that choya out of here. But anyway, guys, if you have any questions about Plecostomus, please leave them in the comments. A big enough tank for these guys right here, full grown, is going to be probably a 125. You don't want to go too small. They get massive. They need the room. They need to be able to kind of stretch out and swim, move around. You can see these guys are just constantly moving. They don't stop. So, make sure that you're giving them the room they need. They do come up and take gulps of air too, by the way. It's another cool thing about these guys. You do kind of want to make sure that you have a lid or a lip, because they do jump a little. Out in the middle of this tank isn't an issue, but towards the edge, you don't want them jumping out. So I hope this kind of clears some things up for you about Plecostomus myths. Lots of space. They can't live in a 10-gallon tank, or a 20, or a 30, or a 40, or a 50, or 60, or 70, or 75. Let's get up into the 125s, the 6 foot to over size tanks. They are a bit messy. They do have that stringy poop, so you need a lot of flow on the bottom. A lot of flow to kind of lift that up to get it into the filters. Gravel vacs help with that. So this sand right here, I just haven't finished it out yet. I tried to find it the other day and they didn't have any left, so that's that. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Really appreciate the support over the last few years. And we'll talk to y'all later. Don't forget to subscribe at the button right there. Peace! You say bye, buddy? You want to say bye? You're a pretty one. You want to say bye? No, you just want more food, huh? Pig.